Good morning and welcome to Going to Work with Gena, which is the Inspiremercial for STEM students. I am Dr. Gena Henderson and it is Python Wednesday, yes. And you know, the first thing we do on Python Wednesday is tell you which oil we're diffusing. And today we are diffusing Wintergreen, Orange, and Endoflex. It is called Candy Hearts. So if you think about Valentine's Day coming along, the candy hearts that are conversation hearts that are in a bottle, it has that wintergreen kind of orange and smell. And so, you know, wintergreen you find in toothpaste and chewing gum and, you know, rubbing alcohol for your muscles and your bones. And orange is helpful for indigestion, you know. And then you have your Endoflex, which helps with your hormones, ladies, for hot flashes. Okay, so you put it all together and you have this wonderful blend called Candy Heart. Okay, so right here I'm actually going to show you the diffuser recipes for the month of February, and here you can see that we are doing candy hearts today. All right, so let's get right into our lesson. And I want to go ahead and explain something about continuous functions so you can understand whether or not those functions have an inverse or not. Okay, so let's talk about this function here that you see. Remember, I was telling you if you could actually draw a line between it, it only makes one point on that line, then that means that it's continuous and it has an inverse function. Okay, so that's what happens here. But see, when you see the parabola, sideways parabola, you'll see that here it actually hits the function at 2 points. So since it hits the function at 2 points, it's not a function that has an inverse. Where in a circle or an oval circle has the same effect. Okay, here it hits on the straight line hits the vertical line, hits it in 2 points. Okay, so now we understand that. Now when we're starting to talk about formulas, we're going to get into when we're talking about intervals, we're going to get into the actual area. That is the area up under a certain region. Okay, and so when you start thinking about area, let's say for instance here, if we was looking at this equation of a line y equals 2x, this is the plot of that particular line. Now if I wanted to look at the area between 0 and 4, if I wanted to bound that on an integral, that means that I would look at this space in between here. And so that means that most of the time when you look at this particular space, when it especially comes to straight lines, you see that triangle. Well, that triangle is not, when it comes to depicting area, it's not so easily seen when you start dealing with parabolas, okay, because you get the curvature along with it. And so sometimes in order to understand the area that you want to capture here, let's say for instance we wanted to figure out what the area was, or we wanted to bound this integral by let's say 2 lines here. Let's say it was at 0.5 and it was at 1. If you wanted to figure that out, what you would actually do, you know, you don't have that perfect triangle that you saw on the line. So what you would do is you would actually look at rectangles. Okay, and everybody knows that the area of a rectangle is length times width. Okay, so what you would do is you would piece it, you know, gather it up into different integrals where you could actually add up the area. Okay, and so for some types of polygons, you could do the same thing with triangles. And remember, the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times the height. Okay, all right, so see how you actually had to get into all of that to understand. So we're getting into calculus 2 now. Calculus 2 evolves around the area, and you're going to also take and look at the distance. So we'll talk about the distance because the distance as time is the time onto it. And all of these things are needed as you start looking at volume happening along the integral. Okay, so I want to thank you for going to work with Gena this morning. If there's any infomercials that you've missed, please don't hesitate to go to YouTube, going to work with Gena. It is Python Wednesday, yes.